Coming up on the program, we're going to take these pallets and make a real quick raised bed.
If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. Well, we've done raised beds with traditional lumber in which we bought from a big box store, made 4x12s and 4x16 beds. However, we have some extra compost left over and we want to build a bed for our potatoes, at least for this year. We're going to do it out of these pallets. Now, there's a couple of things in which you can do. Number one, these are pallets here that came from our compost bin that we've changed. This one here is another pallet in which we're going to piece together. So there's a couple of ways in which you can do a raised bed from pallets. One, you want to look for a pallet that's been heat treated by a label that's on the side of the pallet. If you have a chemical treated pallet, that's your discretion whether or not you feel like it's going to leach into the soil and toxify the food in which you're growing. So if you made that determination, we could do a couple of different ways. I could take and spend about 10 minutes and break down these pallets piece by piece and have the runners and the flat pieces and the nails separate, which is fine. They look great. Takes a long time. So instead of doing that, we're just going to chunk these things into 10-inch pieces and put them together as a raised bed and fill it up. So that's how we're going to do it. Now, what do I mean by chunk it together? Our raised bed is going to be 10 inches high. These pallets are 40 inches wide. That's the maximum that we got. That's what we're going to work with as a width. 48 inches is 4 foot. So this is a shy 4 foot wide. So, got the bottom here. This is the top. We've got, that's 10 inches there. So what I'm going to do, you can either take a radial arm saw or a hand saw, and I'm going to cut these 3 runners here, or braces, and that's going to give me one end of our raised bed. I'll show you here. Now, whether you're cutting this with a hand saw, a big tooth saw here, or a radial arm saw, or any type saw, be careful of where the nails are at because that will destroy your blade. So I'm just going to go in here and cut next to this piece here, and that'll give me a 10-inch width, and I'll do that for all 3 pieces here, or all 3 runners. Okay, so I've got that 10-inch piece cut. Now that, as you see, is going to be the end cap for a raised bed. Got some space missing here, so I've taken pieces from other pallets that are worse off, that's not going to work for what I need, and I'm just going to fill in the gaps with the boards using the nails that came from the pallet. All right, that's one end. Got to make, I'm going to go 80 inches long, so 2 on each side and then another end cap. Then we'll come back and put this thing all together. Okay, so I've cut all the pallets and got all my pieces, and then as I cut them, this was the equivalent about, if you had 3 good pallets, you wouldn't need 3 pallets. You need about 2.5. Then I took the spacing or the pieces and filled in the gaps here. Again, not a this old house type of project. This is a functional bed that will last 2, maybe 3 years. Most of these pieces were 10 inches. These here were 12. This one was 12 simply because the run or the board here I would have had to split down the center. I wasn't going to do that. So I'll just leave that at an extra 2 inches and just fill it at 10 inches. Really at 9.5 when it gets down to it. So now what I need to do, and this is approximately about 76 inches because these are set in. If it was all on the outer side, it would be 80 inches. And then this is 40 inches wide. So on a potato bed, you would get 1 row, 2 rows, you get 3 rows of potatoes in here. So now the thing is to tie this all together. So what we can do is, I've got 1 nail already, I've put there and tied it into here. And what I'll do is I'll take another nail from here and drive it in there and get that tight. And all I'm using as nails is a 3-inch ring shank nail that we had left over from our raised beds on the side supports. So with this, I would get that nailed first. So I'll nail that first, then I'll nail these two together. I'm just going to put one nail. And then I will take what's left of the runners here, and I will actually take the sledge and I'll hammer these in the ground to keep from the pressure bowing out, from blowing the sides out. So let me get that done, and then we'll start filling this bed up and get it ready to plant potatoes. All right, so the bed is 73 long, 40 wide, again, untreated pallets, heat treated, which means they're not pressure treated in any form or fashion. They're just plain pine wood, most likely, is the, or poplar wood, very soft wood. This is not going to last more than 3 years. Now, real time from the time we started cutting the pallets to now, maybe an hour. And you think, well, I can just go buy the boards for a larger bed. Yes, you can, for a 2x10 by, let's say, 2x10 by 8 by a 4-foot wide by 8-foot bed. You're going to spend about $40. Here I had 3 pallets that were that was zero expense, that we had items delivered on. So it's your, you know, think about how you would want to do it. So I got to put some side supports so it doesn't blow out when we fill it with soil. So I'm just going to mallet these in. No rhyme or reason, nothing special, just put it there, and then when it, you know, that's good there. Going to do the same there and a couple other spots. Then we'll fill the bed up. We're almost got this taken care of. Okay, so these were just scrap lumber that had nothing to do with the pallets. These were the runners here. That's a very soft wood, but it will work for the side brace, so we can maximize the amount of material that we have to build a no-cost raised bed. All right, that's good. Okay, so we got the cardboard down, basis of our raised bed, and there was some small gaps here that the soil is not going to fall through too much. But if you can find sticks, wedge them in there, keep them pinched in so they don't, too much soil doesn't fall through. All right, we've got 2 wheelbarrows here. First is going to be our compost that we know has got weed seeds in it because it's not a heat composted. So that's going to go on the bottom 1 inch. Then we've got some topsoil here that we're going to throw in, and then we'll finish it off with the leftover compost that we had from our raised bed. So this has still got some not completely broke down material in it, and because these boards are not secure or strong, I'm just going to shovel this in so I don't collapse the wall, because I sure don't want to do that after the work I've put into it. So I'll get this put in. You can see some of this unbroken material. Old vacuum bag. I don't think I'm going to include that. That's probably a little too much there. And I'm just going to layer it around here evenly, and then it will smother out. The next layer will smother out any seeds that are still viable in this. So we got our compost in. Oh, I shouldn't be standing in it. Now this here is just a cheap bag, 3 of them. It's a blend of peat, moss, humus, sand, recommended for lawn and garden. So it's just a little more of a filler. Not required, we're just going to add it to the mix. Just to add a little more material to this. Well worth the 3 bags. I think were a total of $7 from the Independent Garden Center. And the whole point of the raised bed is not to stand in it, get good soil to grow whatever you're growing. Tomatoes, peppers, in this instance potatoes. So it doesn't, we're not, you know, this doesn't It's not always going to be a potato bed, but that's what the intentions of it is this year. I'm just going to level this out, and then we put the final dose of compost in. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to bring this up more than what the bed needs. I'm going to heave it up because it's going to settle. Even if we had this thing perfectly level full of 10 inches, in a week after it settles, we get rain on it, it's going to drop an inch. So I'd much rather have too much in this bed now than have to add more later. And that's what we did the large beds on that end. We overfilled and it worked out really, really well. So now, that's a piece of plastic. You don't want that in there. Now we're going to use the good stuff here in shoveling it, because I don't feel confident that if I dump it, those walls will not support it. I think they'll fall apart. And this was extra because we overcompensated for our raised beds, and that is a good problem in the garden world, to have too much compost. Then when you calculate and you figure, oh, I need to stretch this and stretch this and stretch this, and then you have to limit where you put and how much you fill beds with. So I'll get this done and overfill it, and then we'll come back and wrap this whole thing up. So we used up all the compost that we had from our previous raised bed project, and it filled up quite nice. It was a smart move for us to use one small wheelbarrow of our compost and then those 3 bags of the garden soil to add a base in order to fill this up completely. Now we've got a little extra compost over there of ours that we'll use for other projects. This bed again is 73 inches long by 40 inches wide. We figure we can get 3 rows of potatoes in this bed and about 5 potatoes per row, so 15 potatoes. Now you may not think that is a worthy crop to put in a bed like this, but again, that's this crop this year, and in the fall we can plant something else in this bed. It's not a one and done thing. So with some free pallets, an hour or 2 of your time, and some creativity, you can build a raised bed just like this and fill it with soil, whether you buy it in bulk or you've made it yourself. Thanks for watching. I'm Joy Baird. This is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. As always, rate, subscribe, and comment.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.